Hi there, my name is Hannah and this is my first YouTube video that I'm making. The reason why I decided to open up a channel and post this was I just recently got started into working with polymer clay earrings. And I just wanted to share my experience and what clay I use, why I use that clay, and the conditioning process. And hopefully I'm able to offer some tips or help out in any way for anyone watching. So first, I use Fimo Professional Clay. This is not the most recommended for beginners, but to be honest, the reason why I chose this and why I stick with it now, it was more available when I went shopping, like at Hobby Lobby and Michael's. There was more colors available. Just in general, they had them in stock. Sculpey Primo was a lot more difficult to come by, and I wanted to be able to work with different colors, and I did order a couple offline from the Sculpey Primo, website, and it took, I think it was about almost 2 weeks to get to me. And I really just wanted to get my hands on working with some clay. Just so you know, some pros to Fimo Professional is it is a durable clay. It is waterproof. It comes in all the base colors, so you can mix and match your own colors, create your own hues. It's really great for that. I've already started to do that, and that's been kind of a fun process as well. Some cons to Fimo Professional is it's really hard. It is hard, so when you're initially conditioning it, it can be a little tricky. And I think that's one of the biggest drawbacks. It's crumbly, it's hard. But I also live in a really humid environment, so I didn't want a clay that was a little bit too soft, because it can get a little warm, especially even when we're filming. Like right now, we turned off our AC, so you don't hear it kick on. But let's get into the conditioning process for Fimo. Okay, so first, I just wanted to show you my little setup here, my work area. I do live in a small apartment with my husband, and so space needs to be well utilized. So this is our dining room table, our kitchen table, our work table, our craft table. And so I put this little towel on top of it to help prevent scratching from my ceramic tile that I use. And then I also have my rolling pin, which I got at Hobby Lobby just for a few bucks. I have my clay cutter right here. I have my popsicle sticks. This is going to be used for the thickness, measuring out the thickness of my clay. And then of course a little clay cutter, and I have different shapes, but this is the one I'm going to be sticking to for this video. So with all this set up, let's open up our clay. All right, so your Fimo Professional already comes wrapped up, but if I've already opened my package and I'm working with the clay, usually I'll wrap it up in some plastic wrap, and then just tuck it away in one of my cabinets. This helps to, protect it from particles and maybe drying out just a little bit. So first, like I said before, your Fimo Professional clay is a little more difficult. It's hard, it's crumbly, it's difficult to work with initially. And I'll show you. And I also recommend starting with a smaller piece if you haven't used Fimo Professional before, just to begin with until you start getting used to it, because it's already tough. So you don't want a big giant piece that you're struggling with. That's just in my experience. And so if you just start working with it, you can notice right away. I mean, look at that, that's crumbling everywhere. It's very chunky and difficult. You can try and squish it together. And so at this point, obviously we need to condition our clay, which means you're bringing all the ingredients together through a process of kneading or warming your clay, so that all the ingredients within the clay work together and bond correctly. And that'll give you the most consistent results with your clay. So I first recommend using a pasta machine or pasta maker, because I did try, for a while with rolling out my clay, conditioning it with my rolling pin, but it did take a while. So first investment, I would say, which was well worth it, was getting a pasta machine. So say I have my clay wrapped up, I actually hit my clay. That's how I start off, is I will hit it all around the edges, and I'll do it a couple times in my rotations. Sorry, that's my cat. And that will kind of just warm it up. It's almost like preconditioning your clay. And that will make it a little bit easier to roll. So I'll show you the two comparisons of rolling out my clay. One that has been kind of preconditioned and one that's just ready. What am I doing? Okay, so I'm just gonna hit the sides here. Be very careful of not smashing your hand. You can use any sort of tool that works best for you to hit your clay. I have a larger rolling pin that's wood that I was using, but honestly, this is, the same tool I use to roll, obviously, so this has been working great for me. You can use a mallet, other things like that though as well. So I do keep this wrapped up, my clay, while I'm hitting it, because it can stick to my ceramic tile. So I just kind of like having to pull it off every time I rotate it, but you don't have to do that. So I've hit it. Now let's slice this off a little piece of the clay. Over here. And let's see the difference really quick. So I've got this clay here and I'm gonna try and just start rolling it, and you can see that's like really difficult, right? And yes, I did kind of crush it up already, but I mean, that's tough. But if you don't crush it and you also kind of precondition it, you'll get a way easier spread. Now again, I do recommend a pasta machine for, at least with Fimo Professional Clay. It's still clumpy. I'm having to kind of like aid it off. You can warm it up a little bit more in your hands. And I still do this when using my pasta machine because it just helps the process a little bit better. But I was using my roller pin, and even when I did this technique, it still took a little while, at least maybe 10 minutes. Oh, it's a cat. Let's cut that. Okay, I'm sorry about those technical difficulties. My cat decided to use the kitty litter while we were filming this video, so I'm just gonna pick up where we left off. So we hit our clay on the sides, rolled it out a little bit, and you would just continue to do this it used to take me about 10 minutes or so, like for a little piece like this, just to keep rolling it, folding it, rolling it, and folding it. And it did work. And also, of course, you want to make sure to avoid those air bubbles, folding your dough like so, and then rolling out. So you're rolling out the air to, so it doesn't get trapped in there and create bubbles. But this was a really difficult way to do this. And some people might really enjoy using their rolling pin and this whole process. But after a while, to me, I was like, this is just really time consuming, and my hands still kind of hurt afterwards. And again, I was still stuck on using the Fimo Professional. So I invested in the pasta machine maker as quickly as I could. And so I want to show you my process for that, which I think will be a lot easier. All right, so I am going to start this process and use my pasta maker or my pasta machine. And again, I'm gonna beat it, hit it, excuse me, not beating it. All right, I think that should be about good. So let's roll this out just a little bit. I do roll it so that it will fit into my pasta machine, because I don't want it to be too thick and end up bending it or causing it to break for any reason. So let's see, maybe a little bit more. And if you want to, you can warm it up even more. Just, you know, again, you can put it in your hands, kind of roll it around, let it get really warmed up there, peel it off, and let's take this over to my pasta machine. All right, so this is my pasta maker that I got off of Amazon, and I've attached it clearly to my kitchen counter here because it is the sturdiest surface that I have, and it also was enough room on the other side for me to roll it, crank it. I just use this little cutting board to catch my clay if I have a little larger piece that I'm working with, so particulation doesn't get onto my clay. All right, so I have my clay here, and I have it first. This is just my method again. I have it on the largest or widest setting first, which is 7 right here on the side. And I'm going to crank it in, and I go up to about 30 times, meaning I literally put this clay in about 30 times, give or take, depending on how I feel, what it looks like, the texture of it is. And I count up to 7 first. I go 1, crank it 2, crank it 3, and then I'll start changing my settings. I go from 7 to 5 to 3. So that's, it gets thinner and thinner, and it's just, it's better at conditioning your clay when you run it through the smaller numbers there. And then I'll go back up, 3, 5, and 7. And then I'll continue on all the way up to 30, if that makes sense. So I'll show you. So let's start off at 1. On 7 is the setting. And then you're gonna fold it. Again, it did break, that's okay. Make sure you fold it, or where you fold it is where you're going to put it in first, because you wanna get those air bubbles, the air out. Any trapped air should be getting out to prevent your air bubbles. So that's 2, I think that was 2, it's okay. 3, 4, 5, and you can also, it doesn't have to go where you fold it directly in like that. You can also put it, I guess that would be top and bottom, and the air will still come out of the clay that way too. So that was what, 6, 7, 8. So I said 7. So that's what I usually do. It's a little difficult trying to remember everything that I'm going to say and do this process. This is my first one, so give me some grace here. But now we're going to go to 5. Adjust my setting to 5, and let's put this in. So it's 8, and we're going to do 9. I don't know, I might do a couple on each setting. 10, 11, 12, and if it starts crumbling, just stick it in there. Keep going. 13. I think now I'm just gonna go to 3. 14. What number was that? That was 15 maybe? Yeah, was that 15? Okay, so let's do 16. 17, and again, I'm not as worried about the number. I just want to make sure that I get at least around up to 30. You cannot like over condition your clay in that way, where the more conditioned, the better. So if it's beyond 30, that's fine. I just want to make sure it's not under conditioned. So I think that was like 17. Let's do 18, 19, 20, and now I'm going to go back up. 5, 21, 22, 23, and we're going to go up to 7. 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So we're at 30, right? Around 30. And the reason why I skip my settings is I just don't find it, I haven't found it necessary to go all the way from 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, all the way to 1. It's been perfectly fine. I've had great results just by going 7, 5, 3. It saves me some time. So that's just what I'd stuck with. So we're about 30. And you can see on the edges, it still might be just a teeny bit cracked there. But in general, the clay is in pretty good shape. It's nice and soft and pliable. I can pull it and it's not just immediately cracking or breaking like that. It's pretty good. So now basically, once you're at 30, or this is what I do, I look at it, examine if it looks in good shape, and then I'm also looking for bubbles. If I see any air bubbles, then I'm just gonna keep conditioning it. Or if it's kind of like not the right shape that I want, because I like kind of square-ish shape that I'm working with, or like a rectangle. So if it's kind of wonky, I'll just put in a couple more times till it's around the shape that I want. So, and this is cracked too, right? Or torn there, so I'm gonna put this in a couple more times. Also, if you notice particles in there, I said I'm OCD about it, but it does happen, right? So I literally can take just like my fingernail here and kind of, like if it's a cat hair especially, pull it out, and then just keep conditioning it. So let's see if we can get a nice piece going. All right, so again, looks pretty good. See that piece of clay right there? No air bubbles, no particulates that I can see. Looks pretty great. All right, so let's bring it over to our work area. All right, so I've got that clay here, and I'm just gonna kind of gently put it onto my tile. Kind of roll it on like that, like as if you're applying a sticker, right? Now what I do is I'm just gonna roll it out to my desired thickness. I use popsicle sticks because it's approximately around as thick as I want my earrings to be. I've read it can be up to 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch. I know what I like when I make them, and so that's kind of just what I stick to, is these popsicle sticks. And I just pop these guys right here on the sides. Let's move this out of the way. And I just start rolling. And this is already, I mean, this is almost perfect. But what I'm looking for is I make sure that my rolling pin is not sticking, it's touching the clay and the popsicle sticks as well. So it looks like straight across, it's pretty even, or it's not being pushed up by my clay. And that's how I know it's pretty much even. And if I see any marks or anything, I'll kind of roll it. And sometimes you can't get to it because it is even. You might need to apply a little more pressure. Let's take off some of these chunks so they don't create any indentations on my clay. I don't know if you can see that on my roller, but I can see some of my fingerprints. So just lightly, obviously this isn't going to change the thickness of it really at all, but I'm just trying to get those little fingerprints and marks off. All right, that looks pretty good. So again, as you can see, no air bubbles. It should be a pretty clean piece of clay, no particulates, and no fingerprints. So now I'm ready to, let's put this thing roll on it. There we go. To cut out my clay. So this is the shape I have. I'm just gonna place it on there. And then I use 2 hands, press down. Make sure you press down as evenly as you can. Sometimes I've gotten some somewhat sideways looking pieces. And you wanna make sure it's gonna go all the way down to the bottom. So apply enough pressure and then gently pull up. And then I'm gonna roll this off. I kind of ate it, you know. There's gonna be some parts of the clay that might stick to the tile a bit, that's okay. But in general, it's coming off, right, with a little bit of aid. And that's how it should be. You know, your dough has been conditioned well. It shouldn't be, you know, I've had that where it wasn't being conditioned enough. And that's when I was using my rolling pin because I was just like, this is taking forever. And I would try it and I would put in my clay cutter and then I would try taking off the clay and it was just sticking to the ceramic tile too much. But now we have a beautiful piece to work with and I can just kind of slide that right off there. And obviously I will file this down on the sides. And sometimes this will like literally come off right after I bake it as well. So that is what I do to condition my Fimo Professional Clay. It's worked perfect for me. Once I got this down and I was using my pasta machine, I had great results. And that's why I decided to just keep sticking with it. And I can still get the colors that I want. I can still mix them. And I'm really enjoying the process to this point. So thank you so much if you're watching, and I hope this helped in some way. If you have any tips or tricks, feel free to lay them in the comments, and I'll be happy to learn and to grow along with you. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye.